The great hall was silent, but it was not the silence of emptiness. It was the silence of expectancy, the silence of a people who had waited for decades, perhaps even centuries, for this moment. The flags of Africa's nations lined the chamber, their colors shining under the bright lights, each one telling a story of struggle, sacrifice, and resilience. The air was alive with tension, but beneath that tension was hope. Hope that something new was about to be born, something that would shake the world to its foundations. At the center of that hall, a man stood ready to speak. Ibrahim Traoré, young yet bearing the weight of generations, stepped forward. His boots echoed across the polished floor, and as he reached the podium, a wave of silence rippled through the assembly. He looked across the hall, his eyes sweeping over leaders, elders, soldiers, workers, and youth, all the faces of Africa gathered under one roof. He knew that every word he spoke today would not belong to him, but to the millions whose voices had been silenced, whose lives had been stolen, whose futures had been chained. He raised his hand, not for applause, but for attention, and when he began to speak, his voice was steady and sharp, like the strike of a drum. "My brothers and sisters," he said, "today is not an ordinary day. Today, Africa speaks with one voice. Today, we remind the world that we are not children. We are not slaves. We are not pawns in someone else's game. We are a people, and we are a nation. We are Africa." A murmur of agreement spread across the hall. Some leaned forward, their eyes burning with emotion, while others clasped their hands tightly, as though they feared the weight of what they were about to hear. "For too long," he continued, "we have lived under the shadow of chains we did not forge. For too long, our gold has adorned crowns that were not ours. Our oil has lit lamps we did not own. Our diamonds have sparkled in markets far from home, while our children slept hungry. For too long, we have been told that we are weak, divided, dependent. But I stand here to tell you, those lies end today." The hall erupted in applause, but Traoré raised his hand again. He was not here for applause, he was here for truth. "Brothers and sisters, we must speak of money. Yes, money. For money is not just paper. It is not just coins. It is power. And who controls your money, controls your life. For decades, Africa's wealth has been tied to foreign currencies. The CFA franc, a chain on West Africa, designed in Paris, printed in Europe, dictated by those who still believe we are their colonies. How can a free people call themselves free when they do not even control their own money? How can we claim independence while our banks kneel to masters across the sea? He paused, letting the words sink in. Faces in the audience grew grim, some nodding, some whispering to each other, the truth cutting deep. "But today," he declared, "we rise. We shall create Afro money, a single African currency forged in Africa, for Africa, by Africans. No longer shall our economies bleed into foreign banks. No longer shall our wealth be measured by the approval of others. This money will carry not the stamp of Paris or Washington, but the spirit of Africa. It will be the lifeblood of our industries, our schools, our farms, our armies. It will be ours, and no one else's." The screen behind him lit up with the image of a coin, golden, shining, marked with the map of Africa. A murmur swept through the crowd, followed by cheers that rose, like a storm. But Traoré was not finished. He leaned forward, his voice tightening with passion. "Yet, my brothers and sisters, money alone will not unite us. For even with Afro money, if we remain divided by borders that were drawn with rulers in European capitals, we are still prisoners. Borders that cut through villages, through rivers, through deserts. Borders that make brothers strangers and sisters foreigners. Who gave them the right to divide us? Who told us that Ghana ends here, that Burkina Faso begins there, that Nigeria must stand apart from Cameroon? Did our ancestors draw these lines? No. They were carved into our skin by those who came to conquer, and still, we live by them. He raised his voice now, his fist slamming onto the podium. No more. From this day we declare one passport, one Africa. No longer will Africans be foreigners in Africa. A young man from Senegal must be free to work in Kenya without chains of bureaucracy. A woman from Ethiopia must be able to study in Ghana without walls of visas. A farmer from Mali must be free to trade in Nigeria as though it were his home, because it is his home. Africa is one, and so its people must move as one. The hall shook with thunderous applause, and chants rose from the audience. One Africa, one Africa, one Africa. The sound grew so loud it seemed to shake the very walls, as if the ancestors themselves were answering from beyond. But Traoré did not stop. His eyes burned brighter as he spoke the words that many feared to utter. Brothers and sisters, our liberation cannot come without struggle. Do you think the world will smile as Africa rises? Do you think those who have lived on our riches will simply hand them back? No. They will resist. They will plot. They will call us dangerous. They will call us radicals. They will call us enemies. But what they truly fear is not our armies, not our weapons. It is our unity. For a united Africa is stronger than any empire, stronger than any corporation, stronger than any chain. He leaned closer, his voice now almost a whisper, though it carried to every corner of the hall. They fear us because they know when Africa stands, the world will shake. For a moment, there was silence. Then, like a wave, the applause returned, roaring, thunderous, unstoppable. People rose to their feet, tears in their eyes, fists in the air. The dream of Nkrumah, of Lumumba, of Sankara, of every martyr who had died for freedom was alive in this hall. Traoré raised his fist high, his voice ringing like a bell across the hall. This is the beginning of Africa's final liberation. Not the dream of tomorrow, but the work of today. We shall have one money, one passport, one people, one Africa. We shall rise not as colonies, not as pawns, but as a nation, an African nation. And to those who fear this, I say, fear us, for we are coming. Fear us, for we are awake. Fear us, for Africa is no longer on her knees. She is on her feet, and she is marching forward. The hall was on fire with chants, with songs, with tears. Outside, the streets filled with people, their voices rising into the night. Across the continent, the news spread like wildfire, carried on radios, on phones, on whispers in the marketplace. From the deserts of the north to the forests of the center, from the oceans east and west, Africa's children lifted their heads and smiled. And far away, in foreign capitals, silence turned into unease, in boardrooms and embassies, in parliaments and palaces. Powerful men frowned at screens showing Traoré's speech. They saw not just a man, not just a soldier, but a spark, and sparks, they knew, could start fires. But in Africa, no one feared the fire. For this fire was freedom, and freedom, once lit, cannot be extinguished. The final liberation had begun. If you like the video, please subscribe the channel for more information, hit the like button, and give your suggestion in comment below.